Hi there, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here. This is video one for the price list that will go out this Wednesday, the 21st of January at 9 o'clock. If you would like to be on the price list but are not, hang around to the end of this message or check how to join up in the notes below. Firstly, thank you all for coming to the Northern Beaches Record Fair yesterday. That's the reason this video was a day late, because I got home last night and I was knackered. But I got to meet a load of you, and a whole bunch of you joined up at the fair. So this may well be the first video that you get to see. This is the genre video, so I've got blues, some jazz, some soundtracks, some Americana as well. And yeah, maybe a few surprises in there too. So something really good, hopefully for everyone. As I said, if you are not on the price list but would like to be, just drop me an email. You can get the email address at the end of this message or in the notes below. All right, so where to start? Well, I got to start here. One of my favorite blues albums of all time. I'll Play the Blues for You by Mr. Albert King of Stax Records. Those of you who've been to my place will know this is one of my all-time favorite blues records. I would say one of my all-time favorite records, full stop. I love the yellow Stax label, and I really like how full and wholesome and deep the US presses of these Stax records are. They are amazing. Albert King came to Stax as a blues player on what's ostensibly a soul label, which is why you get these incredible horns. But he came to Memphis via Mississippi, left-handed, playing the right-handed flying V guitar. He sounded like he'd lived 3 lifetimes in one. And you know what? He went a long way to defining a style of electric blues that was incredibly popular all the way through 70s, 80s, 90s, influencing the likes of Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and others. And the amazing thing is that, unlike a lot of the players at the time whose best albums were often live albums, Albert King's best albums his live albums are great, but his studio albums are awesome. And I would go so far to say that if you were to own one Albert King album, this is the one, even though it is later period Albert King. It's spacious, slow burn grooves. I mean, the title track is almost 10 minutes, and you know what? It completely earns every second of that 10 minutes. The title track is like a thesis in the blues all by itself. It's got time signature changes. It's got incredible vocals. It's got a rap. It's got about 4 solos. It's just absolutely amazing. And the band is really patient and deep-pocketed. They're just waiting their time. It's absolutely magnificent. I love it. I was really pleased to pick up one of these first presses. That's genuinely superb. And I've got a couple more blues albums to bring to you off the back of that. Now, these next two are Japanese presses, and we all know how well Japanese press blues records. This is Muddy Waters and Howlin Wolf, London Revisited. This is a hard cardboard gatefold, so that's how it folds out. But in here is one of the funniest centerfolds. It is absolutely hilarious. I'm gonna save the cartoon as a surprise for the buyer. It is printed in absolutely pristine condition vinyl on the chess label. So you know, as is you will get the clue in the title, London Revisited. This is one of those records from the 70s that was like a transatlantic conversation. It's quite polished for what's there, effectively a studio jam, but it sounds really good. The vinyl itself is super quiet. It's the exact same copy as I have. It's kind of, these are the bands and these are the events in the early 70s that just shaped how British blues went, and they're just really cool pieces of music. And there's no doubt the UK was obsessed with Chicago blues, which started from, Fleetwood Mac going over and playing with Otis Spann, and, continued. And you know what? It's brilliant. You got Muddy and you got Howlin' Wolf. All right, fair enough. That's not the end of the Muddy story, though. I have this as well from 1975. This is the Japanese first press of Unk in Funk by Mr. Muddy Waters. What a great sleeve. And you know what? What a great album too. Produced by Muddy Waters for Muddy Waters Productions, recorded at Chess Studios in Chicago. Pinetop Perkins plays piano on this, which is part of the reason why it is so funky. He is just incredible. Luther Johnson and Bob Margolin on guitar. George Buford is one of my favorites. He plays a mean harmonica. He's all over this record. It's just brilliant. I love it. I guess Muddy Waters in the 70s went for a series of really bold swings, and making a funk-infused blues record is so typical of Muddy Waters in that time. So, yeah, it's aged as a kind of a cult curiosity, I think. Now, this next and final blues album of today's list is what I call a secret handshake. This is a blues player and singer that once you discover him, and he's something similar to Fenton Robinson, he just becomes part of your blues firmament, and you're kind of wondering why he isn't, up there with the Kings. And I really like this guy. Now, this is more kind of Delta blues than Chicago blues, but it's still, to say that Robert Nighthawk delivers a masterclass in singing and playing on this record is an absolute understatement. This is Bricks in My Pillow by Robert Nighthawk. Beautiful Peavine copy. It's absolutely pristine. I mean, in glorious condition. This record is at times melancholic and at times just absolutely euphoric. And he often sings in kind of almost like a whisper. He rarely raises his voice. But if you think of the blues as high art, then that's where Robert Nighthawk lives. And because he isn't an exuberant player, he's more like Fenton Robinson. The quiet kind of Peavine label, the vinyl just works incredibly. It's really moody. It's kind of minimalist. I love Robert Nighthawk. Please investigate if you have not discovered him before. All right, here's another band that might be new to some of you, and this is a band where prog and jazz mix. And if you think, oh, that sounds pretty grim, Stephen, I know it's a niche, but in the 70s, UK jazz rock really had its kind of its zenith, its peak, and a band like Gilgamesh is where all of this came together. There's the four players on the back. This is a serious musicianship, but it is serious musicians having fun. So think of this more like adjacent to the Canterbury scene. So if you're into Caravan, if you're into Soft Machine, then Gilgamesh will really float your boat. Lots of kind of studio experimentation, but really melodic as well, even though, to be frank, it's a pretty grim cover. It's harmonic. It's really interesting. Of course, it's brainy, but it's kind of breezy with being brainy. And this is the UK first press from 1978. These are very, very hard to find, very expensive online, but this record will not be very expensive, and it is in fantastic condition. There's the UK label, look at that. Charlie Records, look. It's pretty cool. All right, I know that's a niche record, but you know what? Sometimes Shortcuts goes niche, and I'm sure there's someone out there who loves Gilgamesh. All right, we're gonna play some jazz. All right, and I got a really, really interesting record to start off this little jazz section. This is a record that I picked up when I was in Japan for my 50th a year and a bit ago. And I didn't realize at the time, but I came home with 2 copies. And only when I did a little bit of sorting for the record fair did I discover that that was the case. And it is the self-titled Hank Mobley album. But can you see that? Hank Mobley with Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan, that effectively became the Hank Mobley Sextet. So Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan on trumpet, Hank Mobley on tenor sax, Horace Silver on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Charlie Persip on drums. Now, side 2 of this album, I think, is where it really is. Barrel of Funk and Mobley Mania. And of course, it has the wonderful Leonard Feather writing his flowery notes that are always worth your time on the back sleeve. It's one of these weird situations where Hank Mobley kind of suffered a little bit from, I would call it, label politics, and I think stretches where in his own time he was, I think, very underrated. But now Hank Mobley is, kind of where it's at. You can see that in the number of Hank Mobley re-releases that the likes of Blue Note are doing. And this is the old microgroove Japanese Blue Note. This is from 1983. If you look that up, you will see just how rare this is. Really, 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 really good record. I have a few modern represses now, including my personal favorite Tone Poet record. Not in terms of sound quality, not anal kind of, oh, look at this sound. I'm talking about just loving the music. And it is this, The Phantom by Duke Pearson. Now, if you saw, for those of you who don't know Tone Poet, I'm just going to read. Cut directly from the original analog tapes, recorded by Rudy Van Gelder, reissue supervised by Joe Harley. He is kind of the mastermind of the whole Tone Poet process, or kind of I suppose you could call it a cult now within Blue Note. It's incredible. It's been going for quite a few years, and mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. But this is really important. Manufactured at Record Technology Incorporated, RTI, which I think is right now the best pressing plant in the world. So these Tone Poets are typically gatefold, but this is not the case. The reason you buy this is because of the incredibly groovy music. For me, it is the most cinematic jazz record that I've heard. It features Bobby Hutcherson, and the vibes really do set a vibe, but they don't overpower, and they're not cheesy in any way. The opening track of this is one of my all-time favorite pieces of music. Just give it a listen and see what you think. I think that, funny thing is, Duke Pearson's Flight to Denmark and Flight to Jordan, I think, are kind of more the acoustic jazz moments for him, and they're more kind of bop records. This is not, but this is better, I think, and this pressing is absolutely magnificent. All right, now I've got a couple more, but these are special, and I'm gonna have to show you why. So if you're a member of the oh my gosh, what's it called again, the Everything Jazz Club, you get a few little really, really nice extras. So this is the recent Classic Records Classic Series repress. So mastered from the original analog tapes by Kevin Gray. So the only difference from the Classic Records and the Tone Poet is that Tone Poet's overseen by Joe Marley. This isn't the case. Tone Poets typically have larger kind of gatefold sleeves. Not the case with Classic, but they're all mastered by Kevin Gray. In this case, though, this record also comes with 2 posters. One is this kind of constellation map of all of the greatest Blue Note players. In addition, and this is really the highlight, this is the For Everything Jazz poster zine, and this is the number 1, the first issue. Now, this folds out in like a massive poster, but has this beautiful themed story of the saxophone in jazz. So anyone who buys that sealed Classic Records Blue Note will also get those 2 posters. And it's also the case for this. Now this is, I think, maybe even better. This is the Acoustic Sounds series repress, and this is still sealed, of Trio 65 by the Bill Evans Trio. Now the Bill Evans Trio, Bill Evans is just so lyrical, so harmonic, just so, become even more beloved over the years. And I'm just bundling all of these together so that those of you out there who dabble in jazz but maybe aren't members of the fan clubs, etc., get to experience some of the perks. And the great thing is all 3 of those records, the Duke Pearson, Something Else by Cannonball Adderley, and Trio 65 by the Bill Evans Trio, are 3 of the most melodic and enjoyable and accessible jazz records that I know. And I'm just saying to those of you out there who would like to have a little dabble, have an experiment, but want to have something really good, that's what those are for. So I hope you enjoy them. All right, let's do this. I've got an exclusive from Vinyl Me Please by, let's get this, Duran Joan and the Indications. This is called American Love Call. Now, this was released as a tranche of 300, and this is number, what does that say, 138 of 300. Duran Jones is probably the best of all of the modern soul bands, and this was pressed on this beautiful mellow blue vinyl. Again, I realized I had 2 copies of this whilst I was preparing for the record fair, so someone's going to get the benefit. Because it's Vinyl Me Please, it comes with this beautiful poster, and I will leave whoever wants that to fold it out. Really groovy, has a real feel for soul. Have a check him out on Spotify, and you will see why he is so popular, particularly as a live act in the US. All right, I have a sealed record here. This is the sealed copy of Legend by Bob Marley, one of the great compilations. So if anyone fancies a sealed Bob Marley, that is there as well. I don't think we need to talk about that record, but we do need to talk about this. Now, I've picked up over the last little while a selection of sealed records from the 90s, pressed by Classic Records. Now, Classic Records was an audiophile label that was pretty short-lived in the 90s, but made some of the best records of the 90s, including the Led Zeppelin classic rock series that I've been collecting. Now, when I was in the UK, I found 1, 2, 3, and 4, Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, and 4 on Classic Records, but I also found duplicates. So I got 2 Led Zeppelin 2 and 2 Led Zeppelin 4. Now, someone on Discogs just bought the Classic Records Led Zeppelin 2 from me for $650 this morning. I still have Led Zeppelin 4. If there's anyone out there who wants to really treat themselves on the greatest sounding Led Zeppelin records of all time, send me a note. I only have Led Zeppelin 4 left now. Now, Classic Records also made a bunch of rock records, including first presses from Matthew Sweet and from Cracker and all sorts. And they made great Americana. And in many ways, they're kind of the founding fathers of Americana. And this is an Americana record by a Louisiana guitarist called Sonny Landreth. And this is a guy from Louisiana who plays slide guitar. Now, this is still sealed. And trust me on this, Classic Records are phenomenal sounding. So if you like blues guitar or Americana guitar that is all about tone and touch and groove, rhythmic, then give this a listen and take a chance on it, because these Classic Records pressings are incredibly rare. To find a sealed bunch of these is just bonkers. I got a whole bunch of sealed jazz pressings as well, including Miles Davis and Sonny Clark, etc. So ping me if you're interested in learning more about those. But he is one of the great modern slide guitar players. Investigate, and this is the Classic Records sealed first press. All right, I have a few soundtracks to go, including what I consider to be, I think, one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. I've found another copy of the Warriors soundtrack. So I know there's a bunch of you out there looking for this. It is a fantastic copy. It genuinely in great shape. It sits in that space with cult cinema meets synth meets electric groove guitar. It's just awesome. Yeah, for those of you who haven't found yourselves a copy of the Warriors soundtrack, there's one that's available. And then finally, I have a very unusual little collection of 5 records. I'm just going to get them out of the sleeves because they just look a lot nicer. And you will see what the theme is. And I suspect there's a few people out there who are going to go, "Oh wow, that's awesome!" And there's others who are going to go, "Really? Why do you care about these?" All right, here we go. I have 5 original first press copies of James Bond soundtracks. Now this is the 20 original hits from the James Bond movies. This goes all the way from the theme, all the way through Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, We've All the Time in the World, Diamonds Are Forever, Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun, Nobody Does It Better, Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only. It goes all the way through that. I also have the US first press on gatefold of James Bond's Live and Let Die, and look at that. How awesome is that? Also, we've got The Spy Who Loved Me, we've got Moonraker, and we have For Your Eyes Only. So all 5 of those will be available as a bundle for $100. So first in, best dressed as always. All right, that's the end of the genre list. So we went all the way from James Bond to James Bond via the Warriors, via Duran Jones, via some modern represses, via Hank Mobley and Muddy Waters and Bob Marley. If you would like to buy one of these records, the email goes out at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, and it's first come, first serve. Drop me a note, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com, if you would like to be added to the list. I will have a metal and classic rock list as well. I'll do that video in a few minutes. There we have it. As always, please leave a comment. Let me know if you thought it was enjoyable, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.